Hello, I'm Samuel Gonzalez, and this is my speech. What are the long-term effects of playing professional contact sports? Professional contact sports have been around for as long as we remember. Being a kid, I've always grown up watching the NFL, watching the Cowboys every Sunday. Um, you know, I idolize a lot of those players, but the truth is, these superstars are paying a toll on their body every time we see them in action, such as a linebacker or running back making a big hit, or a boxer getting knocked out cold. There are underlying effects that we usually don't see until it's too late. The NFL has been under criticism due to the facts that have been surfacing for years now. Players are starting to realize the price they actually pay later in life. Players are catching on to the negative long term effects that football is having on their brains. Some are retiring earlier than usual. Studies have been revealing what goes on in their brains after so many hits to the head. According to Boston University CTE Center, studies are showing that there is a hidden disease in a lot of athletes that participate in sports where head trauma is repetitive. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is a progressive degenerative disease, or CTE, of the brain found in athletes and others with a history of repetitive brain trauma, including symptomatic concussions as well as asymptomatic subconcussive hits. Pretty much, even if they don't get a concussion, all those hits to the head still messes up with your brain when it touches your skull on the inside. Um, Contact sports are dangerous, and people are starting to wonder whether it's safe to play them or not. Um, NFL players, boxers, and other professional athletes are becoming more aware of CTE. Retired players that die often donate their brain and to science, and sometimes, most of the time, scientists actually do find these traces in their brain. Um, One of the first cases of this was CTE was found in the brain of Mike Webster, a former NFL center that died of a heart attack at 50 years old. And ever since then, more and more cases of this have been found since this was identified. Anyone who plays sports where multiple head injuries occur are at risk for the disease. Um, Here's a short video to show you what it kind of. This is Mike Webster.
TV interviews became impossible.
No, I'm talking about. No, I'm just trying to find. Yeah, well, trauma. Everybody went through trauma as a kid. I'm not saying I was different than that. I'm just saying the things we do to one another. Okay. Uh, Hell, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just tired and confused right now. That's why I say I can't really. I can't say it the way I want to say it. I could answer this real easy at other times, but right now I'm just tired.
So you can see how it kind of affects the brain and their speech and their ability to form good sentences. According to Julie Beck, Boston University, where researchers studied the brains of 165 people who played football at the high school, college, or professional level, they found evidence of CTE in 131 of them, 79%. Of the brains studied, 91 of them belonged to former NFL players, and 87 of those 91 had signs of CTE. The effects of the disease has on the brain are nothing to take lightly. Although it isn't overnight what the effects do to the brain, it can substantially affect behavior and thought process. Um, According to Ashley Welch, the degenerative disease is largely believed to stem from repeated head trauma. It can lead to memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, impulse control problem, aggression, depression, and eventually progressive dementia. After Mike Webster died, more players began to show signs of them losing their minds to CTE, and more players were committing suicide. Um, NFL defensive back Andre Waters committed suicide 3 days before Thanksgiving. According to Tim Ferry, the forensic pathologist Dr. Bennett Amalu of the University of Pittsburgh told the Times that the condition of Waters' brain tissue was what would be expected in an 85-year-old man, and there were characteristics of someone being in the early stages of Alzheimer's. The doctor said he believes the brain damage had come from or had been quickened by successive concussions. More and more players are falling victim to this deadly disease that there is no cure for. Some hear voices, some forget what they're doing, where they're going. Depression and more aggressive behavior also start to show. We see how dangerous CTE is and how athletes are at risk, but what are they doing now that the information is undeniable? There's sort of a movement starting to be made in the NFL with young players retiring early. With the studies and facts coming out, it's grabbing the attention of players in the NFL. It started with the player retiring just after one season of professional football because he wanted to, because of the facts that are out there. These players want to preserve the brain that they have, and brain damage is something that is not to be taken lightly or something that can be reversed. According to Lindsey Gibbs, it used to be practically unheard of NFL players to retire before they were forced to, but San Francisco 49ers linebacker Chris Borland essentially started this trend when he retired after his rookie season. These players are walking away from potentially millions and millions of dollars and years of playing in the NFL, but you cannot put a price on health and sanity. These players are looking at the evidence and facts that is out there, and the decision they are making is one for themselves and their families. You see players are starting to take notice and do something about it, but what does the league have to say about this? Imagine not being able to remember where you were driving to or being able to put a sentence together. All those years of banging your head for the love of football against other players finally took a toll on your brain, and the NFL, up until recently, was in denial that football caused that. The NFL for a very long time didn't want to acknowledge the facts that were coming out. CTE was first found in an NFL player's brain when Mike Webster died in 2002. Until just recently, in March, the NFL never acknowledged the fact that CTE was prevalent in former players' brains. Jeff Miller changed that, and Jeff Miller is the NFL Senior Vice President of Health and Safety. And during a congressional roundtable, he finally gave way to the NFL for the NFL to acknowledge CTE and the connection with the sport. Nancy Armour writes that Miller was quoted. The answer to that question, Miller said when U.S. Rep. Jan Schakowsky asked if there was a link between football and degenerative brain disease, Miller said, "It is certainly yes." And since 2002, the NFL has been denying the facts and has not connected the sport with the disease. They realize if people start to find out about this, it can really impact their money. But you can't deny physical evidence forever. According to Nancy Armour, Miller reversed the NFL's long-established position that football played no parts in the suicide of Junior Shaw and Dave Durson, or the dementia of Hall of Famers Mike Webster and John Mackey. Hopefully we understand this disease a little better now, and hopefully we can see how players are being affected and how dangerous it actually is. CTE is nothing to joke about, and there's no cure for it. It can affect people from all ages, and you don't have to certainly play professional sports to be at risk of developing it later in life. You don't even have to be hit hard enough and get a concussion to be at risk. Subconcussive blows to the head repeated over and over are just as bad and can lead to the disease. After hearing all the facts and cases that I presented, will you let your children play football? Thank you very much.